Hello.
What a good welcome.
What's up, Sephora?
We're so happy to be here. We're so happy to have you guys here and to watch how we get good glowy skin today.
Yes, we're very excited.
So I have my favorite ways that I use my Summer Fridays products and my favorite makeup products, but I feel like we need Katie to give us the true expert tips on how to get glowy skin and for how the glowy skin, how it can last
Yes.
throughout the day.
Yes, there are some tips and tricks, so get your ears ready, get your phones ready, write some notes. So I am going to start the skin with brows. Before skincare, before anything, I always want to go in with brow product first because for me, I find that skincare sometimes can get in the way of certain makeup products. Sometimes it benefits them. It helps them really be glowier. It helps them be, helps them apply easier, but sometimes it can make them come off quicker. And I think brows is particularly that area where I always, always, always do brow product on people or myself before skincare.
I never do this, so I'm already learning something because I actually didn't know this tip.
Okay, so we're always going to go to the brows in the middle of the brow first, just so that we're not oversaturating that forward part, and then we're just going to creep forward to be able to sort of get that, little bit of intensity at the front, building backwards, and gently applying some pigment. And it's just the best little hack to sort of do it before you apply skincare. So if you haven't yet tried it, or if ever you're like, oh, my brow makeup is coming off throughout the day, what is going wrong? Please, please, please try this and see if it works. So brows are pretty much done. Lauren is blessed with the most perfect, naturally bushy brows. So we're just grooming them and sort of adding a tiny, tiny bit more of a pigment. And then I'm going to go in with a little eye cream. So I like to do a touch of eye cream first. And I'm what Lauren said at the beginning about how to prep for makeup versus how she might prep her skin. Usually they might be two quite different things. How I would prep for makeup would be to be a little bit more sparing as opposed to more generous. I would be very generous at night. I would go in with all the textures and really load up. But under makeup, depending on what you're doing, depending on what kind of complexion product you're wearing, I think it's good to be a little stingy so that you know that it's not kind of going to come off throughout the day or that it's not going to make it crease or that it's not going to sit funny. And so with eye cream, for example, Summer Fridays eye cream, just tapping it into that orbital bone, that's all you need. I mean, for a high sort of quality product too, you don't really need to use loads and loads and loads of it anyway. So I do think on Instagram daily, I'll get questions like, oh, my mascara, it's transferring down under my eyes. What am I doing wrong? I'm like, what eye cream are you using? Or how much eye cream are you using? Or what's your concealer consistency? Is the concealer a glossy finish? Then that's probably what's making your mascara transfer down. So it's, the appropriate amount of skincare is very, very, very important to the longevity of your makeup. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I also think, too, depending on what you're doing that day.
Yes.
So I think, to your point about different activities, so if I am not wearing a lot of makeup that day, I find myself loading up on more skincare because I'm not going to be putting on that much more over it. If it's my normal day of running out, getting my kids to school, running to the office, I might be wearing less. If I'm getting ready for an event, that's when I think you can be a little bit more stingy on some of the products, but if it's my normal day-to-day, I actually like to be quite generous.
Yeah. And of course, there's no right and wrong. It's what's right for you. What might work for one might be different for somebody else. So it's important to be like, okay, well, that way doesn't actually work for me, and I'll do this instead. I'm using Dream Oasis Serum. This is a product that I actually would be quite generous with because a serum, not adding loads and loads of richness. So I think for something like this, you could do 2 or 3 pumps if you want to.
This is also my holy grail.
It's so
product.
beautiful.
It's really hard to choose a favorite child.
This is your favorite one.
But this is really up there.
She's not going to say a favorite, but this might be it.
It's a jelly serum. It's so lightweight. This is my favorite for everyday hydrated, glowy skin. It's really amazing on its own. So if you have more oily skin, you can even do this without a moisturizer. If you want to have more hydration, it layers really well with both other serums and also moisturizers, either a gel moisturizer or...
The shine of it is beautiful. Yeah. It has the most lovely radiance. So I'm applying it kind of on the high points of the face first, always building in the glow where you are going to add your highlighter later on from the very, very first step. That also falls onto exfoliating. When you're washing your face and you've got a face cloth in your hands or a cotton rounds, put extra emphasis on those areas where you want to shine more in your makeup, and you'll get so much better out of everything if you do that. So really pressing it into these parts first, and then what's left on my fingers is just going to go across the T-zone, across the chin, across the chest or shoulders if it's exposed. And that's my serum prep.
Also, question.
Yeah.
So I love very glowy skin. Like that always tends to be my everyday go-to, but I also am more oily.
Yep.
And so I think that is kind of an important distinction too of how do we remain really glowy and hydrated, but then have it last throughout
That's
the day.
a perfect
especially with
question
makeup.
and a segue to exactly what we're about to do, because what Lauren was telling me before, that actually people use this sometimes as their hydration for the day, and then the next step would be sunscreen. So obviously with moisturizer, you should use moisturizer if you like that dew from the product through the makeup, and obviously if you want the hydration, because oily skin still can be dehydrated skin. What I would actually do is just use the tiniest amount, and I would do the exact same steps, and I would basically place it on those high points of the face first, almost like pre-building in that shine and that highlight, so that it's really sort of building in from the foundation of the skincare. The glow is there, the sort of the shiny, the areas where you want to glow are glowier from the very, very foundation of the look. And I don't mean foundation and complexion product, I mean foundation, like the base of the look should be good skincare, truly. And it doesn't need to be loads, it just needs to be the right amount for the right areas of the face. If you've noticed, I didn't really apply very much at all, but she's perfectly prepped. And now what that is sort of, my next steps would be concealer kind of everywhere before we do.
This is also just a quick note on this moisturizer. This is our Rich Cushion Cream. This is our newest moisturizer. This is ultra plumping. It's really rich if you want deep hydration. I also love using it at night as my last step before bed as a nighttime product. I know right now we're obviously doing glowy everyday makeup, but you can actually be quite generous at night and just allow it to really soak in. It's non-comedogenic, so you can feel really good about putting it on your skin before bed.
Do you ever have days where you just use shade drops only and then your tinted complexion product? Or do you always put everything underneath every day?
I usually, they are my children. I usually am quite generous with putting them on each day. I usually will never, I'll always at least use Dream Oasis.
Yeah.
If I'm in kind of like a quick hurry, I might use that, and then our SPF, our shade drops. But usually, I would say most often I'll use our hydration serum, a moisturizer, and then SPF.
So this is shade drops. It's the SPF product from Summer Fridays. Popping it on all of the areas first where the sun is going to be the highest, always, and then saturating it across other parts of the face. And what is really good about this is it is so juicy and dewy looking. So if you love a dewy skin, you will love, love, love this product.
This is a mineral sunscreen too, and it blends in really beautiful.
Yeah, it's colorless. It's so, so nice. And I like how thin it is. Like, it doesn't feel heavy or thick. It doesn't have that chalky texture that some SPFs can have.
That specific point was so important to us when we were formulating, and it's why we obsessed over taking so long about making this SPF, is we wanted it to layer really well, not only your skincare, but also your makeup. And particularly with a mineral SPF, we wanted it to still feel very lightweight, which this does.
So my next step is actually going to be to build in shadows. I'm going to use a little contour stick. And I'm going to go quite generous because I can, because of how prepped Lauren's skin is. I'm just going to take a little flat brush and take a little of this on any of the areas of the face where I want a little bit more sculpt. And I'm doing this before concealer because I personally like to sort of build in those shadows first. It's almost like how I do the brows first. It's a nice way to sort of, you're getting the bones there, you're getting sort of the silhouette down, and then you find that you even use less complexion product when you do this. I also do this with highlighter a lot of the time. Highlighter before foundation or complexion product sometimes gives you less need for more complexion product. And I think, there's nothing wrong with a lot of complexion. There's nothing wrong with having a full coverage face. I've got a lot of makeup on today, and I love it. But sometimes you do want to feel perfected with, you do want to feel more perfected with just a little bit. And so using little tips and tricks that sort of allow for you to, use the least amount of product, it's kind of gratifying in a way, because you're like, oh, took me 5 minutes, and I'm out of the door, and I feel like just as good as I would if I was going out on a girls' night.
That's the goal always. I want to feel that way every day.
All right, so just building in the shadows. I always like to, there's a really cheeky hack, like if contour is ever difficult for you, because up here is quite hard to, there's a lot of hairs over here, it's like peach fuzz, there's a lot of, textures to deal with. It's also our eyes don't bend around that way. So if ever you find it hard to get that blend real good up there, forget about that area entirely. Look straight ahead. Like, suck your cheeks in or sort of talk. Just go like this.
Oh.
Yeah, so look, Lauren's is really easy to find. Everybody's is really easy to find, but when she pops her cheeks in, I can see the natural shadow is right there. So if you just intensify that shadow with a little bit of bronzer or contour, then you've got that same look without half of the effort. And it's less to sort of deal with and keep up. You always want to blend contour product up versus down, because this should be brighter at the jaw. And blending it in. And it's really nice because obviously this is going on a dry skin without any skin prep. It wouldn't blend as nice because, I mean, that skin prep is giving us that emollient sort of nature. And then a little just under the jaw. You could only grab one Summer Fridays product. It's like a desert island. I mean, I think you already kind of told us. Like, what would it be?
Gosh, it's so hard. Desert Island, I do honestly, it would either be Dream Oasis or Jet Lag, because I would want the hydration. Dream Oasis, I just love to use in different ways. Also, I mean, Jet Lag 2 is our most versatile product because you can use it as a daily moisturizer, you can use it as an overnight mask.
Versatility is
I use
key.
it everywhere, my hands, my elbows. So there is something very versatile about Jet Lag. That I think that would be my choice.
Mine would be lip butter.
Oh, I know, lip butter is so
I
good.
love it. I'll put it on my eyelids. I'll put it on my cheeks. I'll put it on my cuticles. Like, it's such a versatile, beautiful, beautiful product. I always like to contour a little on the eyelids, just a little, and build it in. And then I'm going to do another cheeky little trick and apply. I'm going to use like a dense kind of little fluffy eyeshadow blender and just sort of put a little bit like around the lip edge. Essentially, whatever your contour shade is for your complexion would be a nice little sort of lip contrasty border shade. All right, concealer. So concealer is my favorite category across all color. I love it so much.
I love the NARS concealer too.
It's a beautiful one.
My daily go-to.
And I always like to put it on my hand first. So I'll swipe the shade on my hand just for reference. Lauren is Custard Medium 1. And then I'm going to do this thing that I like to call priming the brush. So by putting the product deep into the bristles, like there's nothing left on my hand, it's all in that brush. This now becomes blend-free zone. I'm not having to blend, the brush is just doing everything for me. And I'll always go around the nose, eyes, and the mouth first, and then blend it into that cheek so that a little bit of that natural cheek color that she has already is coming through. I'm not canceling it out with Complexion product. And then I'm just sort of putting it anywhere that I want. And I'm also gonna go underneath that contour just to pop it a little bit more. And so you do truly, like, you get less creasing with this technique. You get less, takes less long because you're just, you know, it takes 2 seconds.
I also find too that this is where the skin prep really shines. If you do the right skin prep, you can feel really good once you get to concealer, powder, all of that.
Where you need less of it when the skin prep is right.
And then you also aren't getting those creases when your skin prep is really good.
Yep. Tapping it a little bit over, a little tiny breakout, and then blending it with a fingertip But I love small brushes for complexion. I think small brushes are kind of the winner for complexion application because it gives you like control, gives you like optimal control.
Also, I just realized too that I tend to usually do a different order where I'll do our skin tint, which I think we're going to put on in a little bit. A lot of times I'll do that immediately after shade drops versus concealer first.
Yep.
Do you actually prefer concealer first if you, or is there a golden rule or not?
There's no golden rule. It's whatever works. I think sometimes I like to sort of just do, what I love about this is how dewy it is. And I kind of, because we're already so dewy with skin prep, I wanted to like go in with the concealer. The concealer's going to like get rid of a little tiny bit of that shine for us. And then I'm going to go back in with the tint. You're shade 4, right? Go in with a little bit more of the tint to sort of bring everything together and even everything out. So I'm actually going to show you an interesting technique with the shade drops next. With the skin tint, I mean. We already used shade drops. All right, so then turn this
I love that I get to learn new tricks of how to use my products today.
And you know what's funny? It's like me as a makeup artist, I love having my makeup done. I don't love having my makeup done by other people, but I sort of do because then I see my face through somebody else's lens. And it's like a nice way to pull you out of your comfort zone and sort of get you trying new things because we do get stuck in a rut so often with beauty stuff. All right, so with the sheer skin tint in number 4, I'm going to give it a shake. And then I'm actually going to do I'm going to do the exact same method. I'm going to prime the brush with it. So I'm going to use a fluffy brush for this.
I was going to say there are different ways that so if I'm really in a hurry, sometimes I'll literally just put a couple of drops in my hand and even just kind of like massage it in a similar way that I would a moisturizer, or just kind of tap it in. If I'm spending more time, I'll use a brush, sometimes a beauty blender. So there's different ways you can use it. It's really light, but it still gives good coverage. There's also tiger grass in it, which really helps with redness. So like for me personally, I can get quite red sometimes.
Oh, wow.
And so the tiger grass helps offset some of that redness.
So little brush, dense brush, getting the product into the brush. And then this brush is now my product. So I'm going to start in the middle of the face and slowly start to basically merge everything sort of into a perfect blend using this as my blender. So this is like my, trying to think of like a food term. Like it's like it's bringing everything together. And so this is now going to give us that gorgeous radiant sheen. It's going to make the contour stick that I use and the concealer blend in even better, all the while keeping your skin really hydrated and complexion perfection.
How much did you use? I know you showed.
I did like 5 drops.
Okay.
How much do you use?
Probably about that. I would say like dime-sized-ish.
Yeah.
Dime to nickel.
If the chest, collarbones, neck, shoulders are exposed, always take whatever complexion product that you've got. This is a perfect product for this because you obviously can't do this with concealer. That would be ridiculous. But it's a perfect way to make sure that the textures on the face emulate the textures on the chest and the neck. And the reason why I think it's so important to do that as a makeup artist, if there are any makeup artists in the room, for if you're doing somebody's makeup for a special event, red carpet, the ears, the chest, the neck, the collarbones, the legs, the arms, anywhere that is exposed should emulate the textures and the tones on the neck, on the face. Because it all really is one package at the end of the day. If Lauren's hair was back, I'd paint the ears as well, but I'm not going to because her hair's down. That is such a pretty product. All right, for my next little hack, I'm going to take a little, actually, you've already got a little bit of this on in a different shade. What shade are you wearing?
I do. I have a little bit of Poppy on, which I love. Poppy, it's a very subtle pop of like a coral.
This Poppy?
Color. That one is not
Cherry.
Poppy. This one right here
That's
is Poppy. Yeah.
Okay, so this is
I
Poppy.
just use a little bit of it, and then also Vanilla Beige is right here. Vanilla Beige is kind of like the go-to everyday, all the time shade, but I do love a little bit of Poppy mixed in.
I like the tone that you have on right now, but I'm going to neutralize it a little bit with the taupey shade. What's the name of this one?
Vanilla Beige is that one.
It has a tint.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, so Vanilla Beige has a really subtle tint that's more of a neutral mauve color, and then Poppy is a bit more coral.
So popping that in just to neutralize a little bit of that coral, because I'm going to take the coral over the cheek. Just a little bit. It's like a little, if it's in your makeup bag, you've all seen your grandmas do it.
I love to mix our lip butter balms too. I love that you're doing this because I think it's so fun to sometimes mix the two colors, and to mix a couple of them, which is really great. Also, they're vegan. Our lip butter balms are vegan, which is not always common with lip balms.
So just tapping it in with the brush for the most sort of luxurious, dewy finish. And then I'm going to show you how to powder this look without losing a lot of the integrity of the glow. And of course, this isn't a cheek product, but if you're, out and about and you feel like you need a little color and it's in your handbag, why not? All right, so we have a little bit of powder.
I've been loving seeing everyone's lip butter balms in their bags today. By the way, I love seeing it in everyone's purses.
I mean, have you all tried the mint?
The mint is so good.
Oh, it's like perfectly sweet.
It tastes like, it is. It's like a thin mint. It has a sweetness to it, so it's not a super harsh mint, but it is a subtle sweet mint. And it's clear. That one doesn't have any color to it. It feels very refreshing.
So pretty.
I also love using it before bed, like after you brush your teeth. It's really good.
Ooh, that's a good idea. I'm going to put one on my bedside table. Yeah. I can't not have a lip balm with me at all times. Like, it's the one thing that I like. If I've got dry lips, I don't know.
I find myself like literally leaving the house, but I'll forget my wallet and my phone, but have like 6 lip butter balms in my bag. Like, why am I like this?
All right.
But it's just so good.
Kosas powder. This is the shade Breezy. I'm using a little brush. Using a brush that's quite pointy and defined because I don't want to with Lauren's skin right now, I wouldn't use a brush this size or this full because it's going to I'm not going to maintain too much control of where the product goes with a brush like this. So that said, there's nothing wrong with it. If that's what you're doing and you like that way, stick to it. But if you want more precision and more control with your product, small little brush, tap off the excess, and then literally just bounce it into the skin in those areas that you want to knock back the shine. I remember when I was assisting to be a makeup artist, anybody that I would assist would always teach me this powdering technique, which was very delicate, very, very light on the skin. One thing that I would say with anything with makeup, whether you're applying it with your hands or you're applying it with brushes, every single step beyond the first, your pressure with your hands or your tools should be lighter than the last. And the reason why is because you're probably taking things off as you're applying them if your pressure remains the same. So that will make sense when you're like, next time you're doing your makeup, if that happens to you. And you could go quite generous with powder with this look because she's so radiant. And it would still be as dewy and beautiful. It's just controlled. And what we're really trying to do with makeup is create contrast. Shadows take things back, light brings things forward, and matte versus shine. So it's always just a bit of a balance of all of those four things. And so obviously with the shadows and light, the shadows and the lights was highlighting and contour. Skin prep, obviously the basis of that. And then with the texture contrasts, it's shiny versus matte. So I always want to go a little bit more in the T-zone than I would here because I want these beautiful, like, super high shine areas to be very, I don't want them to blend into that nose area because then it's like, well, is she oily or is she dewy? Like, there's a fine line sometimes. So we're just going to tap into this side. I love this Kosas powder. It's so, so good.
I do too. It's so good day to day. I always find that that's kind of my personal struggle is I want to be glowy, but then sometimes because I run a little bit more oily during the day, especially midday, I can sometimes feel like I need to be more matte in certain areas. Yeah. So I think it just depends on where you're putting the powder, where you're putting the concealer to help control that too.
Right. And then I think what's a really cool little hack is to take whatever powder you have and to really, really carve out that jawbone a little bit. It gives you a little bit more pop out of your contour and really sort of lifts at the same time. I learned a really cool trick from a celebrity client of mine lately, which was she really liked to use one shade darker than her complexion to set the perimeter of her face with powder. And I was like, and I tried it on her and I was like, I am never ever going to not do that.
Oh wow, okay.
It was great. So like you're one shade darker. This is almost a brightener for you. So like 2 shades deeper than this as your perimeter set would give you a little bit more of an intense shadow and like make it last all day. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yes. Okay, I've never tried that, but I like the tip.
It's like a soft bronzy kind of look. It just gives you a bronzer look without looking like you've got bronzer on, essentially. And then I always like to just hit my specific powder placements are right under the nostril, just there, because that is an area that should not be shiny. A little above the brow here, sometimes under the brow, just because it's a dewier area on most people. And then obviously the primary areas, side of the nose, around the mouth. Essentially, like her lip is very dewy and shiny because of the balm, the Butter Balm. So we want to powder around it so that it doesn't merge into, turn your head like strong that way. So do you see the textures, differences of the textures? And I'm going to do one last little thing because I'm a constant player when it comes to makeup. I have to just keep messing until I'm where I want to be with it. And I actually, on myself, when I do my own makeup, if I'm doing some Instagram content or something for social media, and if I'm in a bit of a rut and I don't know what I want to create, I won't think about what the end goal is until I'm like there. I like to start with a contour stick. I'll start with a lip liner, and my next product isn't even in my peripheral because it stifles me sometimes if I am trying to be creative. If I think too much about what the end goal is, I can't get there, versus if it happens naturally.
I love that. I love the creativity of that. This is why you're such a beautiful artist.
So we have the cherry shade, and I'm gonna kind of stand a little in front of Lauren for a sec, using my fingers to just anchor my placement down, and then I'm just going back in for a little bit more pop of color and a little bit more pop of texture, aka shine, on those high points of the face. Because now that we powdered, we can afford to go back in a little bit more. And again,
I've actually
super
never
delicate.
tried this on my cheeks. I've always just done my lips.
Okay.
A good substitute blush for today.
Yeah, and that is it.
I also love one of my during the day hydration tricks is if Dream Oasis, I don't know if you've ever tried this, but if you do a little bit just on...
Back on the high points? Oh,
yes,
I bet that's beautiful.
Exactly, which I love. So if I just want to have like a little bit of extra glow on the high points.
How do you apply it? Do you apply it to your finger and then tap it on? Oh, good idea.
As long as I have very clean hands.
I would feel like it would also be so nice. I'm not going to do this to you, but I would also think it would be nice to do it like this and then fully press over.
Into my face?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless you're really, really powdered, you wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But the shine of it's so pretty.
Because it's so lightweight. I mean, you can see on my skin
so
right
lightweight.
It's so lightweight and it's so hydrating and glowy. And it also, because it's so light, even if you have your makeup on, if you're just using a little bit of it, it doesn't interfere with the makeup that you've already done, which is why I love it as a little hack.
Cool. Should we open up the
Should we
floor
do
for some
questions? Yes, I think we have a few minutes.
Check. Katie, thank you so much. I feel like I need to rethink my whole beauty routine now after that, especially using Lip Butter Balm on Lauren's cheeks. It looks
I love it.
beautiful.
Best hack.
Best hack. I did meet someone on the way in, and they had a question for Lauren. Lauren, they just discovered Summer Fridays, and we're curious, where did you come up with the name Summer Fridays?
No, we love our name. So we wanted a name that really felt like the brand we wanted to create. We wanted there to be a sense of ease, a sense of joy, a sense of effortlessness. And when you think of a summer Friday, you kind of think of this time off for yourself. And so we hope that every single time you're picking up one of our products or that you're seeing our brand, that you're really thinking about that time off for yourself, even if it's a couple of minutes from your own bathroom, but this sense of escapism for you.
Love it. And I know Mackenzie actually Mac has a question for you as well. I'm just going to pass the mic.
So I was going to ask about your desert island product, but you addressed that already, and I am completely aligned with you.
It's a tough one to choose, you know?
All your children. But actually, thinking about all your children, every time Summer Fridays comes out with a new product, it feels very thoughtful to the brand. So I'm just wondering, what are some things that you and Mariana take into consideration when you're dreaming up your next product?
I know we actually work quite in advance, which is really fun. So there's a couple of different things. One is all of you. We take a lot of community feedback, and that's actually inspired a lot of our product development. It's always very funny because a lot of times the feedback we'll get will intuitively be also what we're thinking, and so it gives us this sense of confidence that what we're also wanting to create is what our community really wants from us. So that's a huge part of what we create. And then we also try to think about what is in your everyday routine that's really intuitive, really effortless, that gives you your full skincare and then into day-to-day no makeup. We also even think with our skin tints, for instance, which even though that's a makeup product, we really kind of think about it as a skincare first product. It's an extension of your skincare routine. We spend so much time putting on this amazing skincare in the morning and don't always have the same thoughtfulness with what we're then putting on as our makeup after. And so we always think about the ingredients that are going into it. And again, kind of going back to what feels really intuitive in your day-to-day routine.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. We have time for one more question.
Hello. Thank you for showing all the techniques. I love Summer Fridays, and I love Katie. Follow your Instagram religiously. But my question, first of all, congratulations on the pregnancy, Lauren. I'm pregnant myself.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So my question is around that. Actually, I saw that you have pretty much the whole Summer Friday routine is ready for pregnant women. Are there any products that should be avoided from the Summer Friday lines for pregnant and breastfeeding?
So yeah, almost all, I love this question. Almost all of our products are pregnancy safe. Just our retinol, or we don't recommend, well, doctors don't recommend using retinol while you're pregnant. So that would be the only product that we wouldn't recommend using during pregnancy. Otherwise, everything is pregnancy safe. Our jet lag mask, our first product, was actually formulated while I was pregnant with my son, who's now 6. And so then that kind of set the tone for a lot of the ingredients that we currently use and wanting to be able to create products that you can also use while you're pregnant. Again, just the retinol is what we don't recommend during pregnancy. We also have a really good baby moon belly balm that's very hydrating.
Great. That's all the time that we have.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.